In the 1800s, Joshua Slocum was a captain of a ship that delivered cargo all over the world. He sailed the entire world in a sailboat that was made just for that. Then in 1895, he was given a boat called the Spray. And the Spray was not in good condition at all. It was actually falling apart. It was really not even seaworthy. But he rebuilt it. He went into the woods and cut down trees and kind of carved everything out and made planks and rebuilt this boat and made it look almost new. And then he took the boat on a journey around the world. And a lot of people are very fascinated, number one, that he was able to figure out how to do this. He kind of knew it, but he learned on his own how to rebuild this boat. But he also had some amazing things that he did. He somehow rigged it to where he could go below deck and go to sleep, but the boat never got off course. He also knew that pirates might attack him, and he had a plan in case that happened, and sometimes they did, and he would put on whatever outfit, and then they would see him, and he'd run below and change clothes and run back up and stand on another part of the boat, and he would do this all along the deck, and the pirates would think there was a lot of people on the boat, and they wouldn't try to attack him. So it was a really interesting thing that he was able to do all this, and people in the nautical world can't figure out some of his ingenuity. All these things he did, and he started when he was 51, which doesn't sound that old, but that's not the age when most people start saying, hey, I think I'll sail around the world. Most people are like, hey, I think I'll figure out what time I want to take a nap. In Genesis 5, we can read the beginning of a story of another guy that had to build a boat. And this one was a little bit bigger than the Spray. The Spray was only 36 feet long. This boat was 500 feet long. And of course, we're talking about Noah. No, not that Noah. And he was also a little bit older. Spray was 51, Noah was 500. So almost 600 really when everything kind of finished. But Noah didn't have to build a nice boat. He just had to build a boat that would float and have room for two of every kind of animal on the planet. But that's kind of beside the point. God told him to do it because a flood was coming and to end all of life. And so this boat was necessary for them to survive. It was not for fun. It was for survival. The Spray was a really strong vessel, but it was not built because God told him to do it. But don't let that kind of diminish its abilities. The Spray had something about it that made it stronger than most boats that you can find information about. It was told that it was so strong it could smash ice, which meant it could go right through patches of ice on top of the ocean, or right through an iceberg, is even one of the rumors or whatever, the legends of this incredible boat. But sometimes all you need your boat to do is float. So Slocum built his boat, and it was unnecessary, but he wanted to do it. He wanted to build rebuild really this boat. But Noah built his boat because it was necessary, and he probably didn't want to. The only common thing about them is that they could both float. Well, that's a saying, I think, if you remember, if you ever heard this saying, people will say, whatever floats your boat. Well, let me explain what that saying kind of means in case you've never heard it or whatever. You might say that to somebody when they make a choice that you don't necessarily agree with or that you're just indifferent about. So somebody might say, oh, you're going to wear that, or you're friends with her, or oh, you think that's funny, or you like that show, or maybe they say something like, oh, you don't eat their French fries. But then you kind of follow that up with, well, whatever floats your boat. That's what you might tell someone. You're kind of being passive with what they've said. But sometimes maybe that statement is the very statement we need, a question of like, what floats your boat? So when it comes to how we choose to live for Christ, we need to have a spirit that's both strong, maybe strong enough to withstand criticism or ridicule or anything that could be an obstacle in our path. Like a spirit that can smash ice, sort of like the Spray was able to do. Now, I don't mean that in the sense of being a mean person, but a confident one. Someone that feels as though they have the assurance of who they are in Christ. But also just able to float, to sail through the situations that we have in life with ease and calm. It needs to be a spirit that brings more hope than desperation, more self-control than chaos, more navigational skills than a random choice. Only Jesus can give us that spirit. Only He can help us sail the way we were meant to sail in our lives. If He's not the one who guides you in your life and guides your heart, what does? What floats your boat?
You've heard of the butterfly effect. A butterfly flaps its wings on the other side of the world. By the time it gets to us, it's a hurricane. It's the idea that little things can have big consequences. Now, this is especially true about the choices we make when we're young. You see, every decision ripples out into our world and our future in ways that we can't possibly imagine. And we carry them to the end of our days. The choices we're making right now can affect our long-term health, our ability to get a job, our future spouse, our kids, our grandkids, everything. What you do will always be with you. But there is one choice that towers over all the rest. Get it right, and every bad decision you've ever made can be wiped away. Get it wrong, and a lifetime of good choices will one day turn to dust. When you choose to follow the Creator, when you choose to surrender your ways to Him, when you decide to trust Him with your life, you will have figured out the one choice that really matters. You see, the beat of a butterfly's wing may or may not change the world, but the choice to follow Christ will change you and countless others forever.